These Colchester Bantams have no dials on the carriage travel, the longitudinal. They have on the cross slide, but not on the carriage. So I treated myself on account of my birthday coming up, and I bought a DRO. I bought this from MDRO in the UK. This is an Easson DRO. I've already unwrapped this. So it comes with a dust cover with the cutout for the cables. Now I chose a magnetic scale for the compound slide. So that's the scale and the splash guard. Some screws. Yeah, they've managed to give me a DRO with no power cable. So just a quick look at the Lathe cross slide. The space here isn't big enough for the ordinary optical scale unless it's to sit above this level, in which case it'll be too high and it'll be getting in the way of things. But these magnetic scales, that will fit in there nicely. Now it will have to go back like that, so it will be sticking out of the back, but it fits in there nicely, and the reed head will go somewhere there, and I'll have to make a buffer for the tailstock. So the tailstock will have a buffer and the reed head will go. I might rethink that. I might put the reed head at the back. I might be able to put the reed head here. That would be a better idea. So I went to my box of almost obsolete cables and found a kettle lead, what I call a kettle lead. They used to use them in kettles. So let's see what happens. It's got a nice metal, don't know, I'm guessing aluminium casing. Nice bit of weight to it. I have to look up the manual for exactly how to set this up. And of course the scales aren't plugged in yet either, so. But it does switch on and the lights are still on, so that's a good sign. I'm just having a quick look at the back of the lathe bed. It's nice and flat, no funny angles, and there's a good flat surface there. And Colchester were good enough to drill this and tap it for, I think, for their taper turning attachment. So hopefully I'll be able to use some of those mounting holes. If not, there's plenty of metal there I can drill into. The first problem is all of the mounting fixtures are straight. Well, straight or 90 degrees. And on the lathe, this is vertical, this face here. But this is running off at an angle. 15-20 degrees, and I don't have the facilities to weld aluminium, and at the moment I don't have a milling machine, so I can't machine any brackets at funny angles. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a bracket that'll mount on here where my light is. The light will mount on top of it. I'll make a bracket for there from steel, TIG welded together. That'll come down at an angle, and then onto the steel I can bolt on the aluminium bracket for the reed head. That's the plan so far. Mounting the scale is easy enough, but just rigging up the reed head onto the carriage is a bit of a job. So I'm going to start by taking off the light, and I'll make a bracket, drill a piece of steel to screw into the carriage, into the holes which are there already, and then I'll weld on some steel to come down to bolt this onto. That's the plan. Right, I've mounted the scale on the back of the lathe. I just drilled a couple of holes and tapped them M6. I didn't use the existing holes because I didn't have any bolts to fit them. They're UNC or UNF or some funny thread that I don't have in my garage. So I've drilled and tapped these M6. I didn't get any footage, fairly uneventful. Drilled and tapped, and I've just stood it off with a washer in behind so that the reed head has some clearance and that it's not rubbing up and down against the back of the bed. So now the next job is to level this, and to level that, it's fairly level, I've already measured, but I'm going to use the dial indicator to get it bang on. So magnetic base onto there. So that's zeroed, so I'll bring it to the other end. So I want to bring this end, well, I want to bring it to zero, hopefully. So that means it wants to go up. That's a bit of bronze I'm using to hit it. I'm not going to use a hammer because I don't want to damage it. And as well, this is a glass scale, so where I'm hitting, I'm just hitting right where the bolt is. I'm not going to hit the middle or anywhere else because I don't want to break the glass. I'm just hitting this bracket. Now, zero. And of course it's way too high up there now. Okay, zero there. Now there's about 0.02 in that. Okay, 0.15 of a millimeter is the tolerance, and we're 0.02, so we're well within the tolerance. So I'll tighten this up. So it's out by about 0.03, well within tolerance. Right, so what I've done, this is one of the brackets that came in the kit. I've used a couple of M5 cap heads, they also came in the kit, and I've used, I think those are M8 or M10s, just a couple of nuts to use as spacers to bring this bracket down. The reason I've done that is this is the splash guard, and when that goes up there, that'll give it enough room, enough clearance all around the splash guard. So now, I'll leave that there for a second. Oops. Why didn't they put controls on the back of the lathe? Right. The next thing is to finish off this bracket. As you can see, I've screwed on a piece of steel here under the bracket for the light, drilled and screwed in. So I'm going to weld on 2 more pieces of steel with a bend to match up to this, and then those will be drilled, and this is already drilled and tapped M4, so a couple of M4 screws into there to finish off that bracket. This is still fixed in place. There's a little bracket that I need to remove just for transport. So now weld onto here and drill it for this. Okay. I've cut a couple of pieces of steel the right length, and I've drilled them to take an M4 screw. Well, actually I drilled them 5mm to give myself a bit of play. So now that's one. It's going to be my way, that wire. I'll try not to put too much strain on the reed head because it's not supported very well. It's only screwed on with a little plastic bracket, so I don't want to be hanging too much out of it. Now, so and I'm just going to put a couple of tacks on these. My ground clamp is here on the light. It's not going through any of the bearings in the lathe or anything. It's a very short path. So like I said, just a couple of tacks to keep those in place. That light is actually interfering with my welding mask. It's almost as if I'm running out of gas. Right, so I've mounted this bracket on here semi-permanently. It's been welded. The reason I say semi-permanently is because when I do the cross slide I might have to modify it, and as well it needs to be painted. So now when I bring the carriage along, I should be able to line up those holes. This is all still loose, as you can see. Let's see where those holes are. These are only M4, so they don't need to be mega tight. Of course that won't change. Snug those up afterwards once I'm happy with everything. Okay, that seems okay. I'm going to remove this plastic bracket, and that'll mean that the reed head will be free to move.
No. So that's the lathe hard up against the stop, the carriage side. Okay.
So this is going to be where the magnetic slide goes for the cross slide, the magnetic scale for the cross slide. That's the reed head. So that's going to be mounted just there, and again I'll weld a little bracket onto the steel that I've screwed onto the lathe. So what I'm going to do now is, that's the position I want it in. I'm going to take off the cross slide and drill it and tap it to take the scale. I'm not going to drill it while it's on the lathe, I'm going to take it off.
Raise the compound first. Tighten the ribs. This is the butt end of the hammer.
there's the cross slide. So I'm gonna catch this in the vise. As you can see, I've aluminium packing in the jaws. Some way straight. Right. So this is the top, and this channel goes on top of the scale. And I measured, I want this around 95 mil from the end. Around there. Set of transfer punches would be nice. Okay, that hole is in a good position. My God, it's better. I'll drill and tap that, and then I'll drill a new hole in this, through into that and tap that. I would drill this on a milling machine, would be more accurate, but I haven't bought my milling machine yet. Okay, that's an M4 tap. I'm just going to start it by hand with using the drill as a tapping bed. And this is cast iron, so it doesn't really need much in the line of lubrication. There we go. So there's my tap started. Tap wrench. Put a bit of stuff on that. Definitely won't hurt.
Hope that's enough.
Probably not. So my problem now, I have a gib screw here and it just kind of lines up with that hole, but there's nothing in the middle, So anywhere here is a good place. So basically somewhere there. So I'll line this up again, roughly. Doesn't need to be bang on yet. We will have to adjust it after. Now, get a punch. That looks good. Okay, back on the drill press. Okay, we're back again. As you can see, I've drilled the second hole just here. That's actually a fourth hole, but it's the second hole I need, and it's to line up with this hole that's drilled and tapped M4. Try and get all the crap out of it. Okay, I took the bracket off again and I've welded on this tab here. So what's going to happen there is this is the reed head, and that's going to sit there. Now it will need a spacer to bring it up to the right level, but basically that's going to go there and it'll be screwed from the bottom. This is already tapped. It's tapped M4, so I need to drill this maybe 5mm to give myself a bit of play. Let's go this way. That's better. Drop the stuff onto it. There we go. Not too bad. So, screw through there.
Okay, we're going to start on that. Put in the spacer. Oh my god. Come on now.
I'm gonna have to get an Allen key for that, but you get the idea. I've had a look at where I want to put the display unit. Now obviously I want it up somewhere around the headstock, but I don't particularly want to drill any more holes in the headstock of the lathe, and as well it's quite a lot of weight to have cantilevered out on a big arm, so I don't want to put another big pipe or bar coming up to support it. So I've decided to just mount it into the concrete wall. That should be capable of supporting it. I have a couple of anchor bolts. They're a bit long at the minute, but they can be shortened easily. They're M6, and I've had a look. that's pretty much where I want to have it, and that'll allow me to swing it over near the lathe or pull it back. So I'm happy with that position, so I'll just mark it and drill it 10 mil I think.
That's not going
Anywhere, anytime soon.
Very good.
Okay, I've drilled and tapped a couple of holes, a couple of M5 holes for the splash guard. As you can see, there's two end covers. I've taken off the end cover on this end so that I can slide it in. Now I've got a couple of cap heads. They do supply screws with the kit, but I just took some from my own box. They were the right length. That's the two scales fitted with the splash guards in place, and as you can see, the magnetic one, it's not fully covered by the splash guard. In fact, I've had to cut the guard so that it would clear the top of the carriage, but these are resistant to splashes from coolant or cooling oil, whatever. It won't affect them. It's just to stop swarf going in there. But that's pretty much the best I can do because of the carriage there. So I have the full travel. It's not rubbing anywhere. And I've cable tied the two reed head cables and the electric cable for the light into sort of an umbilical that it's not getting snagged in anything, and they're all supporting each other, so it's nice and secure there. It's flexible, it's not hanging out of the reed heads, so that's fixed there, and that other one is fixed. They did include little plastic clips, but they're only plastic, and it would have meant drilling more holes and tapping, and cable ties are probably stronger in the long run, and if I need to change anything around, I'll be able to cut them. So that's it for the back of the lathe. So that's the finished project. It's working perfectly. It's good and secure, easy to move, and I've secured the cables onto the arm, and I left them in a big bend so that it has plenty of slack if I need to adjust the angle, and they're kept out from the wall as well, so there's no strain on any of these connections. So that's the fuck.